Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is for 3 tips that a Leo Sun, Leo Moon, Leo Venus, or Leo Mars can take to attract and keep love in your life. Some people think that attracting love is the main thing, but that's not necessarily true. Some people have no problem attracting others, whether it's because they're physically attractive. Notice that we have that word attractive, meaning that somebody is able to magnetize others to them based on what? How they look physically, or being charismatic, I guess, could be another reason. But when it comes to keeping that relationship, sustaining it, that's where people run into problems sometimes. So, this is one of the reasons why, even like if you're talking about astrological predictions, you may get something, but whether or not you can sustain it is a completely different matter. And a lot of times, this is coming from within the person, whether they are able to keep something going, because sometimes people don't feel worthy of what it is that they have attracted, and they will unconsciously push it away with their negative behavior, or let's just say counterproductive behavior. So the first tip is love and not lust. And it's so funny, when I was compiling this list, I was thinking to myself, this sounds suspiciously like Aries, and there are, I think, a couple of these are the same as Aries. For Leo is a very sensual sign. Fire energy does tend to be that way, tends to be very hot-blooded, passionate, and when you're coming from that place of deciding that you like somebody because you are physically attracted to them, it can cloud your judgment very easily. It can lead you to get intimate physically earlier than you should, and that can create the illusion that you are emotionally intimate with that person. And I have made the observation many times that if you are a woman, and especially like, let's say, a fire sign woman, which is a masculine sign, and you think you can handle it, and you think that you can be like the boys, take it or leave it. A lot of times women will discover, to their chagrin, at some point that they can't take it or leave it, even if they think that they are big and bad, and that they're not hooked into somebody. I think it's just biological at some point. That it's kind of wired into us as a species in order to keep things going. So anyway, the point is that you are someone who, and even if you're a male, that this can obscure problems or incompatibility issues by emphasizing a physical relationship, and also kind of like deterring getting to know somebody better on other levels, and then the relationship doesn't ever really mature or progress, because it's hard once it gets into that physical thing, I think, for you then to go back and start to learn more about each other. So being able to curb that tendency, but also it's coming from a place of enthusiasm and spontaneity. I think those are qualities of fire signs. But just being able to discern who is better for you comes without, with taking things more slowly as well. I mean, I'm mentioning that as connected to the lust issue. The next thing that I think I also had with Aries is being generous to a fault. And this could lead to attracting people who are takers. And if you have more money, and a lot of times Leos have a good lifestyle, because that's something, first of all, you're a very positive person, so you attract that to you in the first place, but you're also very generous. And I think that generous people who are free spenders, they know that there's more where that came from, and they tend to attract good things to them. And you're also very hard workers. So all of those things conspire to possibly make you affluent. And you are just naturally very warm-hearted, and that includes, not being petty and like worrying about this dollar or that dollar. And that can create a scenario where somebody who doesn't have that but wants that is attracted to you for that reason, and that reason primarily. Now, here's the thing that is sad, is that people who operate this way I think that they have a difficult time receiving love. There's almost like, that it has to be a commodity for them. And certainly giving love can be difficult for them as well, giving and receiving love. And so as a substitute, they're interested in the money, but these kinds of people cannot even provide the emotional support for the individual. Because it really isn't about who makes money and who spends it, if you will. If you're in a relationship with somebody and they are nourishing you emotionally, even if you pay for all of their bills, it isn't a lopsided relationship. It's only that way when it has to do with the other person not caring for you emotionally. So I'm not talking about if you are in a relationship with somebody who is devoted to you emotionally, but they just don't have the kind of means to kind of give back to you what you give to them. This is when it's an obvious user situation, and you may shower them with gifts and with affection, and they may leave you out in the cold. So when I say a two-way street, I'm not talking about tit for tat financially. I'm talking about energy, currency. Money is called currency. It's energy. But by the same token, money isn't the only form of energy, obviously, and there is the emotional variety. And there are people who sustain relationships merely on the amount of love that they are generating, I feel. And it's like they may have nothing else to offer another person but their love, and that is more than enough. Here, I'm talking about that is not present either. So, learning again to discern between this. Now, interestingly, I think the first two go hand in hand. I think that people who, and this might be more true for males, where lust kind of, creates a lack of oxygen in the brain. And then the wallet is out, and there's no thought about, okay, is this person really somebody that I can see myself being with for the long haul? Is this person really somebody who I feel cares about me? And, I'm not saying that you can't spend money on somebody that doesn't, isn't in love with you. I mean, you can just do that for anybody. You can give it to a stranger if you want. But I'm talking about an ongoing relationship where it becomes almost like, I hate to use the word parasitic, but the thing is, I mean, even on your end, you may be using them for sex, in a sense. So it becomes one of those types of arrangements. And the problem with that is that I think it creates like a demeaning type of relationship, especially if the two people haven't agreed on this ahead of time. In other words, I mean, this is actually quite true. I think that prostitution is a much more honest and healthy transaction than a marriage of, kind of like unspoken agenda, with both parties, where it's kind of like, okay, you're my arm candy and my sex toy, and I am your open wallet, and on the surface they may be pretending that they care for one another, but really they know their place. That to me is a very unhealthy type of relationship. But if it's something that you are openly agreeing upon, then it might be completely different. The vibe might be completely different. So anyway, the third point that I wanted to make, or third tip, and this is for, I would say, keeping love in your life, Leo, is genuinely caring about others and paying attention to them and their interests, their needs. Leo is a warm-hearted person. Leo is also a sign that is accused of narcissism. Now, narcissism is on a scale. I think all of us, I'm a Sagittarian, who are fire signs, we tend to be self-absorbed to one degree or another. This is the nature of fire energy, to be very creative and very aware of the self-aware. But when you're creative, you are absorbed in what you're doing, and that can lead to being tuned into yourself, sometimes to an excessive degree. And when you're in a relationship, you have to acknowledge the other person has perhaps different interests from you, and care about those interests. Maybe you don't really vibe with them per se, but you may, at the very least, want to encourage others to pursue their passions and, cheer them on, take an interest in your partner's interests, and listen to them, at the very least. How many times have we been trapped with somebody? Maybe it's a stranger or somebody that we know is like this, who, like maybe you go to a coffee house and you run into somebody that you know who only talks about themselves, who never asks us about what we're up to, how we like it, blah, blah, blah. And we have to try to fight to get in a word edgewise. All of us, I think, have dealt with this from somebody in our life, and I'm sure it's actually multiple times and multiple people. And this creates a lot of frustration, feelings of not being cared for, not being seen and heard. And you may do it innocently because you are so enthusiastic about your things that are going on in your life developments, but you have to remember that there's somebody in that room besides yourself. And you are warm and you are caring, but Leo is ruled by the sun, and you may think that you are the center of the universe, in other people's lives. And you might be. I mean, you might be like kind of the person that everybody comes to, and kind of the heart, the soul of your social circle, whatever. Even your family, you might be one of those people that everybody trusts and loves, but there might be that part of you that doesn't spend enough time just listening to others, taking a back seat, being genuinely interested in what somebody else is up to. And not needing to be the center of attention is another part of this, because you can suck up all the oxygen in a room. And if you are coming, let's say you're coming to a party with your partner, and you're in a relationship, but you're not like, maybe it's, let's say it's not a partner, but let's say you're dating, and you go to a party together, and everybody, you're like the life of the party, and you kind of abandon your partner, or you don't pay attention to your partner and leave them kind of in the lurch. Maybe they don't know those people at the party, and they're your best friends, and you just get taken with all of the adulation. It isn't because you're malicious. It's just like you're just easily flattered. You just love to bask in the limelight. And you have to remember that there's somebody else there with you, and hold them up, and, tout their achievements to others instead of just your own. Okay. So, I hope that this was helpful to you, Leo. If you'd like a personal reading, I have love readings and other types of offerings at RainaMoonAstrology.com. The link is below. Take care. Bye.